What's up, guys? Today, we're gonna look at some suggestions. There are a lot of suggestions, but one video is just too much for it because it's not long enough of a subject. And that is why today we're gonna list 7 suggestions and talk about them. The first suggestion is Catacombs of Paris. A lot of people wondered, especially myself, why is there so many skulls and skeletons here? You have to know that in the 18th century, Paris had a huge problem. And that was, it didn't have any place to bury the dead. And even if there were any, it was extremely expensive. And that is why there was dead people everywhere on the streets. And these dead people caused a lot of diseases, and it added to the dead people in the city. Until they decided to take these dead people to an old mine underneath Paris. And this is where they took limestones back in the day. Anybody that died in Paris, they would take them down into these mine shafts. This started in 1789 and it lasted up to 1860. Around 70 years, all the dead people of Paris would come down here. There are more than 6 million skeletons down there. And that is why this famous place is called the Gates of Hell. Those big pieces are the skull, and the rest of them are the bones of a body. Right now, the Gates of Hell is a tourist spot and a lot of people visit it. And people that want to see the Gates of Hell can easily do so. They say around 480,000 people visit this place every year. Another suggestion is the dark side of the moon or the far side of the moon. You first have to know that the moon is basically controlled by planet Earth and is kinda attached to planet Earth. The moon only faces one direction towards the Earth, and as it faces Earth, it spins one time. So every 29.5 days it orbits the Earth once, and it spins around itself once. So in 1 month, it spins around itself once, and it spins around the Earth once. So that is why we can only see one side of the moon, because it's locked to us. So a lot of people want to see the far side of the moon and see what's going on back there. There are a lot of conspiracy theories about this place as well. Like there are aliens living there, or there's an alien city over there. The US has a Space Force base over there. This is the far side of the moon, which we never see from Earth, and it was taken by the Apollo 16 in the year 1972. There are no real theories about the far side of the moon and what is going on there, but there are plenty of conspiracy theories that we won't get into because it's not worth the time. The next suggestion is Paul Alexander. This man was born in 1946 in Texas. At the age of 6, Paul was diagnosed with polio, and unfortunately, he gets paralyzed from the neck down. Since he was paralyzed like that, he could not even breathe on his own, and that is why they built him an iron lung, and it breathes for him. This is the iron lung we're talking about, and he's been in there since 1952. He's only a head with this machine. But this man did some great things. He's not a normal person. In this situation, he gets into a college and graduates with a bachelor at the University of Austin. He's not finished yet. He studies for 6 more years and he gets his law degree. Anything he wanted to write or do, he would use his mouth. They asked him, "How did you do this?" He would say in return, "Because everybody told me I wouldn't be anything in life, and I had to prove them wrong. And that is why I went and studied and even got a law degree." They refurbished Paul's iron lung in the year 2015 so he could breathe easier and he was more comfortable. If you've seen our video about placebo, you know that if you want it, you'll get it. And since Paul believed, he was successful. So always try to feed off positive energy. Another suggestion was about DMT, dimethyltryptamine. This is a psychedelic drug that makes the user hallucinate. This is a drug that could be similar to magic mushrooms. The next suggestion is Alan Turing. This man was a mathematician, and one of the most important things he did is that he would break the Enigma code of the Nazis. Meaning, they could pretty much spy on what they were talking about, and this was extremely important for England to win the war. But there was a huge problem. At that time, he was a homosexual, and homosexuality at that time was an extremely wrong thing, especially in England at that time. But around that time, the Soviet Union accepted gay people and they didn't mind them, and that is why the intelligence service of UK was suspicious that Alan Turing was working with the Soviets. And that is why somehow he ate an apple with cyanide in it and they labeled it as suicide. And later they found out he wasn't a spy for the Soviets at all. The next suggestion is about thunder and lightning. When the clouds are forming, there are electrons in the ice of the cloud. When the clouds are moving fast, it causes the positive and negative to separate in a cloud. The positive goes on top of the cloud, and the negative goes to the bottom of the cloud. When these two connect to each other, you'll see a cloud light up and make a noise. But sometimes you see a lightning bolt come down to the ground, and sometimes it even kills people, animal, starts fire, or anything else. In this case, the positive on top of the cloud doesn't do anything. But in this case, the negative on the bottom of the cloud fights the positive on the ground. The positive starts to rise towards the cloud, and the negative from the cloud meets the positive, and then they crash into each other. If this lightning bolt contacts you, it turns you into charcoal. They believe there are over 300 million volts in that lightning bolt, and the electricity passes through the body and then touches the ground. The next suggestion is about some space probes. First of all, we have to say that the Hubble has stopped working. There's a problem with it that it can't turn on or take pictures, and they haven't figured out what's wrong with it. The last time NASA repaired this thing was in 2009, and they're saying they're gonna send people again to repair it. We hope it gets up and running because it helps humanity a lot. Voyager is on its way too. If you go on Voyager's website, you can see a live reading on how far it is. Right now that I'm recording this, it's 22 billion kilometers away from Earth. You're probably wondering what's good with James Webb. James Webb's launch date was extended once again. Now it's November of 2021 instead of October. We hope that it gets launched on that day and does its work correctly.